Hey y'all, this is
Ace Gaming on YouTube.
and I am gonna post this video where I review Final Horizons Update, Sonic Superstars, Mario Wonder, Transformers Devastation, and maybe I just talk about some random thoughts, I guess, afterwards. Just to warn you, all these will have spoilers for each game, and it'll be a long one. So, if need to, you can just have this playing in the background, or you could just, or if you want to watch it, you can. Either way is fine with me. We're going to start off with the Final Horizons update, and then we go down the list from there. So hopefully y'all enjoy. And like I said, spoilers for all these, just so you know. Alright, so we'll start off with Final Horizons. I'm going to start with the plot. So this update is basically fixing the ending of the game. And the original ending, it was basically Sonic was frozen, and then with the power finisher we got freed, yada yada yada. Pretty much, that's it. And the final boss, even though I thought it was okay, a lot of people weren't too crazy about it, which I understand. The final boss was basically a top-down shooter. You find this moon-looking thing called the End. And yeah, but now with this update, they changed quite a few things. So first off, so now you got new playable characters, which are, instead of Sonic, you also got Tails, Amy, and Knuckles. And they're all pretty alright. They have their own skill tree, and they function pretty good for the most part, but they cannot deal with bosses or, well, the overworld bosses. They don't, for some reason, they didn't program them to fight that well. I don't know what was up with that. But each character has their own specific deal. Like for Tails, in a specific part of the tree, you can actually ride the X Tornado, so you can fly around anywhere. Knuckles, he's more combat oriented, but it didn't feel that great to play as him. And then Amy, she has like the float mid-air jump. If you remember from Mario, Peach had that jump, and it's kind of similar to that, but it descends over time. And yeah, the whole thing of the game is just like the previous times. You have to get all the emeralds, and then you fight the boss at the end, and woohoo. And the other part of it is you go through, after you get a certain amount of emeralds, you go up these towers. You have to climb up them with Sonic, and they become aggravating afterwards. It's kind of like the game Getting Over, if you remember that, where you try to make up to the top of the mountain or whatever, but if you fall, you lose a lot of progress. It's like that, but for Sonic. And each of the towers, they do have these little challenges, like try to beat all these enemies within a certain time limit, or beat the boss ninja, who is an increased amount of speed for their combat, so it's kind of hard. So basically, what I did is just parry the whole time. And so that and the last one of the tower, you have to fight all the bosses in one go. And however many rings you beat, so first off you fight Giganto, and then you fight Wyvern, and then you fight Knight. And let's say I fight Giganto and I have like 300 rings left. Those 300 rings carries over. You don't get increased amount of rings. You can't even side loop on the ground to get more rings. So you have to try and beat them as fast as possible. And they also make you do the perfect parry, where you have to be frame perfect to get it correct. But you could do that, or you could set it to easy mode like I did and just have the regular old parry be lasting like a few seconds, because I was just trying to get this review done. So that's why I changed it to easy mode. And the towers do scale up. If you switch it to easy mode, you can actually just home attack everything, which I was fine without it for a few towers, and then afterwards I'm just like, okay, let's just speed it up. I switched it to easy mode and just homing attack everything just to get to the top. They did revamp the final boss. Not Supreme though. Supreme is pretty much the same, so if you have a maxed out Sonic, you just kind of wipe them out. But afterwards is the end fight. And they changed it quite a bit compared to the original one. Like I said, the original was a top-down shooter, so it's kind of for some people. I liked it because I played Kirby, and Kirby has those kind of bosses. But to each their own. But now you have to fight the end this way. So Supreme comes back up, and then the end comes down from the sky and hooks something onto it. And then the Supreme, when you just fought, grows, like, just falls to the ground and grows like 6 or 7 more arms. And that cord on him, that continuously heals him. So any damage you're trying to do, he'll just heal back up. And the fight starts off where you're doing like little to no damage, and eventually you get hit with these orbs. And when you get hit with these orbs, you lose the maximum capacity of rings. So like I had to like 999 rings for maximum rings I could hold, and once I get hit by that, I just lose like 50 of it or whatever, which adds a bit of a time crunch to the fight. What else? And at a certain point, Sonic gets a new form after he gets hit a few times, or if you, for some reason, manage to dodge those. I don't know, I managed to dodge him once, and then that was it. But Sonic gets a new form. Not much changed. He gets a bit of a red aura around his super aura, and then he has, like, blue eyes instead of red, which is interesting. And the way they did this fight was pretty interesting, actually. So at some point you're able to beat him up, but here's a tip for you guys: if you do get to this, make sure you get rid of the cord thing on his neck, because that's going to continuously heal him. And in order to access it, you have to be like pounding on the boss's face, and then you just kind of do the little dodge thing afterwards, which lets you automatically get to the cord thing. So you just kind of beat it up or side loop it, whichever way you prefer. And once he gets to 0, you have to side loop the gun on his back, and then you have to side loop it again. And it'll activate the second phase of the fight, where basically Sonic and his friends, not Sonic, his friends and Sage kind of make this little force field in front of Eggman, because Eggman claimed the gun earlier, just so he can help out. You have to, they have this force field to protect him, and you have to beat in while they're protecting him, and the end will start doing the weird thing. Like at one point he just he gets up and he starts holding his head with a bunch of his back arms just kind of pounding around crazily. So you try to beat him up a little bit, go to the top, and then by doing that dodge thing I explained earlier, and then you do the parry. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the parry is now perfect parry. You have to be frame perfect with the parry if you're doing it on hard mode, which is what I did. And if you're doing it on easy mode, I think they just make parry a bit easier to do, but I think it's fine. You can do it. And through this whole fight, he'll be throwing these little orbs at you, which again, they lower the ring capacity, but you can parry him back at him to do a little bit of damage, which is meaningless if you don't get rid of that thing on his neck. And they changed up quite a bit of the QTE, so like whenever you press X and A now, on one part it shows the Supreme coming right after Sonic, and Sonic just dodges effortlessly. Screen flashes with a bunch of yellow light coming around out everywhere, and then it shows Supreme knocked down and Sonic doing like a kind of a Ultra Instinct pose. I'll probably show a picture of it, and I'll show a picture of the final boss as well if I hadn't already. And it's been pretty cool. Another quick time event happened is Supreme will come right after you and grab you. If you match the Y button or whatever controller you're using, press that button, mashing it, and you'll escape it, and you'll have some extra time to beat him up. And for some reason, I can never manage to get this one, but you can side loop him, and then you attack him, it'll just push you back. It'll do the little blast, and you just parry that. I haven't managed to get the timing on that, but if you do manage to do it, side loop him again, and just kind of beat beat him up and stuff. And then eventually he'll do like the little finger snap, and the whole robot comes down with a bunch of, I guess, oil coming out of him. And eventually, once you do beat him, oh, and by the way, you have to do this the whole time. You have to fight him before he gets rid of the shield in the back, otherwise it's instant death. And there's like one attack he has where, but you can't avoid it. Well, from my round line, you can actually avoid it by just not getting hit by those spears at all, but it's kind of near impossible to do so. But he'll throw out this giant spear, and it'll knock Sonic out of Super Sonic 2 into regular Super Sonic, and then knock that out as well, and you're back to regular. And it'll knock out like as many rings all the way until it reaches the 100 rings left mark, where you'll turn back into Super Sonic 2 again. And he does a cool pose in there as well. Like, he goes up to the sky, transforms back to Super Sonic 2, and he just closes his eyes, points at him, lowers down his finger, points at him, and again, just kind of like, alright, I could beat you with 100 rings, that's how much you have left, by the way, so you have to be fast. And then the quick time event for the ending is very cool too. You just kind of punch him up to the air, and then you quick time event the deal, and you start sending out a bunch of punches and kicks like it's a blast or something, and he continuously hits him. Then he'll fall down, and the Sonic will do this pose like, and then forms a fist and punches him back to the moon. And then in this cutscene, they'll have him go inside the gun. If you remember Sonic X, that's kind of similar to this, but Sonic would go inside the blaster and, do a spin dash, and it'll go in super high speeds. But for this one, he just starts going crazy with the power up he got, and he'll turn all digital and stuff, and eventually we'll do this final attack where it fires off from the gun, and he'll just do the zippy zap deal, like he's going in different directions. Then finally destroys the robot, destroys the end, and then the pearl to save. And they actually changed the song. So the song for this fight, so if you remember from regular Supreme, I told you the song was I'm Here from Nathan Sharp, I believe. I could be wrong on that, actually. But Kellen Quinn did a revised version of it where it sounds actually better than the original, and it's pretty good. I recommend you checking it out sometime. Maybe I'll link it or something, I don't know. But yeah, and then some people have some complaints, like for example, Knuckles' glide apparently has like a little pause before he starts gliding, and I think some of their moveset just doesn't work well for fighting the bosses and stuff. They did an update where they fixed that, so Knuckles' glide is instant. They made the attacks work well against enemies and stuff, and I think they lengthen the parry timing on hard mode when you do the Master Coco trials, so you'll have an easier time doing that trial. And yeah, overall I give the update like a 9.5 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. I really liked it. They fixed a lot of problems that people had. And yeah, I'm very excited to see what they do next. Unlike this next Sonic game coming up on this list, don't get me wrong, I like it, but it's just like, what were they thinking on some of these things? Alright, so Sonic Superstars is kind of like the classic Sonic games, the old ones back in the early 90s, where it was on the Sega Genesis, like Sonic 1 and them. Remember those games? And it's also similar to Mania, so it's basically like a classic Sonic formula. And it did alright. I'll go over what on it. So the plot, there's not really much of a plot. I don't even know what was going on for half of it. But basically, Eggman's up to no good. You stop him, you save the day. Okay. It wasn't really much of a plot in this one, but classic Sonic games don't usually have a plot. So, So the gameplay is pretty interesting. It actually, in terms of like controls, Sonic controls amazingly well compared to the other classic Sonic games I played. The closest thing I found Sonic being the best control was in Mania. If you remember that game, that was one of the best classic Sonic games they ever made, in my opinion. The controls are very good. The gameplay as well is very good for the most part. So, for Sonic, there's this new feature they do called Emerald Powers. And Emerald Powers are like each emerald gets like a certain ability, and I'll list them all here. I got it on my list right here. So, in terms of Emerald Power Avatar, this ability lets you multiply yourself, and you'll be able to get like rings, defeat enemies, just kind of get like a bunch of stuff while you're trying to run around. And it's even good on bosses because it registers a few hits on them. So Avatar is pretty good. Bullet functions like a burst from Sonic Colors, from the DS version, where you kind of just like freeze one moment in the air, go up, freeze one moment in the air, go up, and so on and so forth. It's very good for speed run. At least that one is. I think they did very well on that one. Let's see, water doesn't have that much utility, in my opinion, from my experience. Like, you can use it to climb up waterfalls, and when you're in the underwater sections, you have more control when you use water, because now you can just like kind of swim around rather than just running along the ground. But yeah, water wasn't that impressive besides that use, pretty much. Ivy. This is the power up that lets you create a vine and you go upwards. It's pretty cool in concept, but once you have Bullet, it's just kind of obsolete, really. I mean, I guess you could use it just to go up to new places, but a Bullet does the same and faster, apparently, if I remember. Let's see, Vision. This power is not used very much from my playthrough, because what Vision does is it basically reveals like platforms and hidden secrets, which would be cool in concept, but you're most of the time you're not going to be doing that. You're going to be trying to beat the level as fast as possible. So I kind of just like hardly use it. Alright, so Vision. Oh wait, I just said Vision. Silly me. Slow. This one's another interesting power up. I really like this one. So slow, self-explanatory. It slows down time. It really helps with like tough platforming sections, or if you're trying to beat up a boss. That way you can react better to the boss's attacks. And extra is the next one. It's kind of, depending on the character you use it on, it can be good. So I will also be revealing the new character you unlock, just so you know. So extra, Sonic is, it's very character dependent. So Sonic gets like a homing attack deal. So that's pretty cool, I guess. Tails, I believe he throws wrenches, and he throws hammers, I believe. I could be wrong. I haven't used them as much, so I've been mainly using Sonic and a secret character I'm going to mention soon. Amy, I think throws hammers. Knuckles, from what I found out, he just punches. Like, for a 2D Sonic game, that's not very impressive. He just punches like one little space, and that's it. Not very helpful. And for the new character, let's her throw out fireballs. Like throws, like if you're using a fire flower in Mario, it's kind of like functions like that. It's pretty interesting. And yeah, playable characters: Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. And then, like I said, spoiler territory. Once you beat the main story, because how this game functions is like there's 3 stories: the main campaign, the second campaign, and then the final one. And the second one lets you play as Trip, the new character. Her ability is, well, let me explain Sonic's ability. Sonic and his pals' abilities first. Sonic gets the drop dash, if you remember from Mania. So if you hold B in midair, you'll do a little spin dash from midair, and whenever you land, it'll start going. So that's pretty cool. Tails can fly. Knuckles can glide and climb on walls. And Amy can do a double jump and use her hammer, which is pretty interesting. And then the new character, like I said, it's spoiler territory for all games. Trip is the new character, and she's pretty good. Although she makes she makes Knuckles and Amy pretty much obsolete at that point, because she can also double jump, and she can climb better than Knuckles. Like, she has momentum on the climbing, so she gets faster as she keeps going around. She can cling on the ceilings, walls, pretty much a good chunk of areas. And all of them do have a super form. Sonic super form, it's self-explanatory. If you've seen Sonic super form, not much change there. Tails and Knuckles and Amy apparently only get like a yellow aura, which is kind of lame, because like in the classic games they had super forms. Like Tails had like those little flickies coming with them, and Knuckles, he was pink. Very great color, I know. And then Amy, she just flashes white and pink pretty much, and just throws hammers the whole time pretty much. And then for Trip, actually, her super form turns into a dragon, like a miniature dragon, and you can fly anywhere on the stage, making these stages very easy to speedrun. It makes her story mode very easy, way easier to deal with. Which, by the way, when you beat the main story, you get Trip's story. And it's basically the same levels, but harder. And there'll be certain changes to certain boss fights, mainly in the final ones, which I'll explain. The music is very good. I say very good. Half time is good. Half time is just like, what the heck were they thinking? Because like at one point, I'll probably show clips of like little song soundtrack from the first stage and somewhere later in the game, and they are quite the change. Well, the first one you just hyped up, and the second one is just like, I'd rather turn it down. Now for the bosses. I don't know what they're thinking with the boss fights this time around. I don't know whose bright idea was it to make these boss fights compared to me. Many of the boss fights was fun. I'll explain why I hate these boss fights. So how does the boss fights work? Like the boss fights from the first few levels, they were fine, but later on they would just drag on for long periods of time. I'll probably even do a skit here.
Hey guys, so we really need to figure out how to lengthen this game. I mean, it's already short already. Like, I figure like the players are going to beat it in like a weekend probably. What can we do to expand that game length as much as we can? Oh, I just got the greatest idea. You know what we could do? Make the game longer and make boss fights last longer. Like, we can make it to where you can only hit them once every single time, and you have to wait for like a good chunk of time, like a whole minute, for it to come back in, and boom, you can hit it again. Oh my goodness, that is genius. You are getting a raise. Everyone's gonna love this idea. No, just no.
I don't know. So for the boss fights later on, they just drag on for many amounts of time, even to the point where I was at the 10-minute mark and it was still going. I'm like, what the heck? Why am I doing this? And it's even more troublesome in the final bosses for each of the main stories. So the final boss for the Sonic's main story, it has 2 phases, no checkpoints whatsoever, and it has like a few insta-kill moves. So if you die, you start from the first phase again of that final boss from the main campaign, and it's just like, I'd much rather be doing something else. Like, why can't we just do like a chase segment or something? This is ridiculous. And even in the second, so the first phase, it was like these little, you're in the circle arena, and you throw these little missile things or whatever, and you try to bounce them back at him, but you have to get behind him to bounce it back at him in order to register a hit. Otherwise, he just deflects it while you're in front of him. Just so you know. He has like a move where he breaks the platform, and if you don't jump out of it in time, you're just dead. And then, what was it? And he has like this little chase segment where he's chasing you. It drags on for so much longer, my goodness. And he has like this move where he rapidly spins his arms trying to break the platform, so you better be getting out of there, otherwise that's an instant kill as well. And if you die, like I said, you start from the beginning. Man, I hated that boss fight, as well as every other final boss, which I'll get to here in a second. But eventually you beat him, and you unlock Trip Story. And like I said, Trip Story is like a harder version of the main campaign with the level design and some of the bosses. But I kid you not, this final boss was worse than the main campaign one. So you fight Fang in this one. He starts off with this little ship he's in. He's like firing missiles. He's throwing like these little laser things, which are insta kills, by the way. And he has like this one attack where he multiplies himself, and you have to wait for the actual him to show up and hit him on the side, not in the front, but on the side of him to register a hit. Otherwise, you just take damage. And these lasers, I really hate these things. They are so annoying. These lasers insta kill you, and he throws like several of them at you. I was just like, what? And it was just ridiculous. Like, it dragged on for so long. Eventually I got to it, and it's just like, hey, am I done? Nope. He has a second phase where he has like this giant mech, like how Eggman had it. And it plays similarly to the Eggman one, but still vastly different from compared to previous time. So I'll start firing up these little flicky robot deals. So same role play, get behind him, hit him, and it'll hit the robot. And then he'll do another one where it's like a bunch of these little spheres jumping around. You hit the blue ones, do not hit the orange ones, they hurt you. Hit the blue ones, right behind him, it'll register a hit. I hate this next attack so much. It's so dumb. So basically you have to avoid these little, so in this phase, he'll throw out these nets. You try to avoid these nets and try not to get hit by the little things he shoots afterwards. Because if you get hit by the things afterwards, you die. Like literally, you just, no matter how many rings you have, you just die. And then the next, it captures you. If you don't mash fast enough, you just die because he fires those things again. This fight would have been. Actually, let me finish one thing. He also has this one attack where he hits the end parts of the platform. It wasn't telegraphed very well either. You don't know if he's doing that. One moment you're just trying to run around, next moment you just freeze in place. He hits the little platforms on the side and then does a headbutt, breaking up more platforms. So you have like this much space to work with. And you don't. And at halftime I don't even bother just hitting him because every time I hit him, the momentum from hitting him just sets me off and die. What? Eventually I beat him. It took forever. Because if you die, you start the whole long segment of the first one again. And now we get to the final boss. Well, final boss. Because it's like, there's 3 final bosses. Third one. Why did they have to design it this way? I have no idea. So, this has to be the worst Supersonic boss fight I ever played in a Sonic game. So how this fight works is, yeah, I don't know who in Sega would think this, but why does this fight drag on for so long? So how this fight works, you turn Supersonic. Actually, let me explain this. They don't even really explain to you why you're fighting this dragon. He just appeared and you're just like, well, now you have to fight him. Okay. Like, I don't really complain much about that, but considering the only way you can get some clarity is from the little cutscene deals you get. They send out online. Not a lot of people have internet, so it's kind of impossible for everyone to know that. But so this boss fight took me so long. Half the time I want to throw my controller just thinking about it. So how this boss fight works, if you're Supersonic and you're trying to, at the first phase, the dragon throws like these meteors. You hit the blue ones, you avoid the red ones, and self-explanatory. His second attack, he throws out these black hole things, you're trying to avoid them. Because if you get sucked into them, you die and you start over. So you have to, like, when you get sucked into them, here's a tip: just try to use the dash button they have. Sadly, the dash costs 5 rings each time, and with supersonic, you're draining rings over time anyway, so that just goes down faster. So try your best to avoid them. And one part, the whole time this fight's going on, Tails, Knuckles, or Amy are gonna come in and provide you rings, which is a nice idea. It would be nice if they gave more and they appear more often. They don't appear often. So once you see them, you better be getting all those rings from them. And the ring, usually in Mania, the rings aren't that sparse or anything. They're like pretty abundant. And this one, rarely you can find them. A tip you can do is hang out on the top of the screen, and you'll get the rings a bit more frequently. And then what was it? The Amy and Trip one, where they're flying on a bird, they'll drop item boxes which are worth 10 each, and they drop 5 of them. So that gives you 50 free rings. But the thing is, there are a 1% chance to spawn. At least that's the thing. I think they are RNG based because I hardly see it anymore. But after that first phase, of course they'll still appear, those guys giving you rings. But the second phase is a bit tricky. So the boss will send out these hands trying to attack you. Basically what you want to do is you want to wait till like the very outer part of it. Wait till it ends and you're like right above them or something. Just ram the hand and that'll count as a hit. And he'll eventually throw this these force field things. They don't do damage, they just cause you knockback. So it's kind of a mild annoyance. Which I forgot to mention, in the first phase for another attack, they had this vine thing. A bunch of vines come up. You're just ramming them, and then they just turn into spikes anyway and just knock you back. Like, what was the point of that? It was just there to waste time. And then, what was it? There was a attack he did it instead of the black holes from earlier. He'll just come in, turn side to side. That's what I should explain on the black hole part. I'll turn side to side for it, stopping anyone that's spawning. So you could have Tails coming in, and then the boss is like, "Nope, you're going to do my thing now," and you don't get those rings. And instead of the black holes, he throws fireballs. It'll just knock you back. I prefer dealing with that than the black holes, because otherwise the black holes just kill you. And then if you get hit, though, you might as well just give up trying to chase them, though, because once you get hit, you're knocked far back to the point where it's just like, well, might as well wait for the next phase. He's going to transition to the other one anyway. And then, what was it? And then after that, there's like one little segment he does. And for some reason, they do not explain this to you. They'll throw out these meteors, and it'll have this ring around it, and you're trying to wait for what you're supposed to do is try to wait for the thing to line up, like right outside the meteor or at that silver line. I couldn't see the silver line, but right outside that meteor, you press B. Don't press and hold B, just lightly tap it. Otherwise, it'll register as on both of them. So it'll register perfect, but on the arrow, it'll just be like, oh, you're too early. I don't know. But you time those, and after that, you have to avoid the little fire breath thing he does for like a good chunk of time. And once he's finally done, you have to do one more quick time event, and then boom, you're good. You can go on that. And safe to say, I was very happy when I got through that fight. I hated every single second of it. And then, was there anything? Multiplayer. I forgot to mention multiplayer. So the multiplayer was alright. It did have its flaws, like it could not decide who to focus on the camera. It would focus on the player one's camera at one point, but then at another point it'd be like, oh, we're going to focus on player 4 for some odd reason. I don't know. But multiplayer was fun overall though. And then there was this other mode I forgot to mention, the mech mode, where it's like you make this mech that you buy from the shop, but you get these coins from just playing the game. But you get these coins, you spend the mech parts and paint, and you can use these mechs online or just against computers or against your friends. And you do like several of these little mini game deals. I didn't spend much time on it. I was busy trying to get that game done, but interesting. It's pretty good. But overall, I give that game about a 7, 6.5 or 7. If the boss fights were better handled, it'll get a higher score. But since those boss fights didn't transition well, they get a lower score, causing it to be not as great. I recommend waiting for a price drop on it. And if you're a fan of the classic Sonic games, I think you'll have fun with this one. But just be aware of the stuff I mentioned.
Alright, so a little cut there. I found out the other half of the video got muted your way, so I'm gonna have to film this review again, but I'll try and make it as fast as possible. So let me grab my notes here. If I recall correctly, we just got done talking about Sonic Superstars, so we should be doing Mario Wonder. Alright, I have some opinions about that. Alright, so Mario Wonder, the plot is pretty much the same as any Mario game. Well, I say the same, but Bowser took the Wonder Seed, which is a powerful seed from the kingdom. I forgot the name of the kingdom that they were at. The Flower Kingdom, maybe. And became a giant castle deal with his face on it, and he was floating around causing havoc, and it's up to you to stop him. For playable characters, you can play it. There's like 12. I might be wrong on that, but I think there's like 12 characters you can play as, ranging from Mario, Luigi, to Toad, to Peach, to Daisy, even to Yoshi if you want. The gameplay is like a lot of the Mario games, except this game's main mechanic is it just when you touch a Wonder Seed or Wonder Flower, more accurately, if you touch a Wonder Flower, a lot of stuff around the environment changes. So it can range from the pipes moving around like a caterpillar, or to piranha plants singing. Yeah, it gets weird in that game. The game. Oh yeah, I already talked about gameplay. It's like every other Mario game except for that new thing. The level design I thought was pretty fun. I think they excelled at level design in this game, because a lot of the levels are like very unique, and they even have challenge mode ones where you have to utilize a certain ability just to get through the level, which offers some great challenge if you're an expert in platformers. Let's see, the level design, I think I already touched on that. The bosses. The bosses stink this round. I don't know what happened. Like, usually, so the bosses, how it works is you're fighting Bowser Jr. every time until the final one, and they're not even that spectacular of a fight. It's just, I don't know what happened. So like one of the boss fights is like with Bowser Jr. Makes everything dark, and you can only see the foreground or anything. It's not hard to navigate. And yeah, the boss fights weren't that good in my opinion. For some reason, they did so well in level design that the bosses just fell flat. I don't know. The finale is not, well, level-wise, it's a pretty good finale. The final boss of this was not that amazing. It was just, I don't know, I kind of expected more from the fight. But, yeah, there's not much after the boss fight either. There's no post-game, really. Not even a World 9 or whatever. Which, okay, so usually how Mario games work, the 2D ones, is usually when you beat the main game, sometimes you get a World 9, which is a level made for experts, which challenges you on platforming challenges and many other things. But for some reason they didn't do that. It's like they completely forgot the post game. I don't know. And again, I could be missing something, but I don't think I missed anything like that. Let's see. If there is an extra world, I probably didn't know it, but I didn't see any. Sorry. In this game, I originally, in my previous recording, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I think I'm going to put it to 8.5, just because the bosses and the final boss were kind of let down in comparison to like previous Mario games, because usually in the previous ones, like Bowser has a few phases, or maybe a final fight drags on longer to make it more climactic.
And even though New Super Mario Bros. U, they have more creative boss fights than this one. I don't know what their deal was with the boss fights, but overall, this game gets an 8.5 out of 10. But yeah, I'll move on to the next one. Alright, Transformers Devastation. I really liked this game. It was very fun and brought some very challenging parts. So I'll go over the plot. The plot is kind of like in the IDW comic universe. So if you're into the Transformers IDW comics, you'll probably like this one as well, in terms of story. But the plot is Megatron is trying to get the Pharaoh-Taxis in order to set up this machine. I may be getting this plot wrong, but he was trying to get this machine set up so that way he can cause extinction to all the humans on Earth and create Cybertron from there. And it's up to Optimus and his gang to stop him. Now, the cool thing about this game, the voice cast for all the Autobots and Decepticons and even the Constructicons or Devastator and everything, if I recall correctly, I think I remember hearing that they were using the same voice actors from the very old TV show, like the very old Transformers TV show, which is very cool. I never seen that show, but I remember people liking that show and liking the actors that they chose for it. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But anyway, the gameplay is like a 3D beat 'em up where you fight Constructicons, Decepticons, Devastator, all these fights, and you earn this equipment you can find along the way, mainly through these chests you find. And yeah, that adds to replay value. The game has like 3 difficulties, I believe. I can't remember the name of all of them, but I know there's like, what was it? There was Scout, Prime, and something else. I forgot what it was. It's been a little bit. But yeah. Gameplay. Yeah, I already told you it's like a 3D beat 'em up. Characters. Now, I believe there's like 4 or 5 playable characters. You can play characters like Optimus, Bumblebee, Wheeljack. A bunch of these are characters. My favorite, even though he's kind of weird to play as, is the one that turns into a dinosaur when he transforms. I think he was pretty funny to play as. But overall, I just stick with Optimus the whole time because he's the character I'm more accustomed to. Weapons, yeah, I already explained. You can find weapons, and they range from like swords to with little plasma guns on your hand to the what was it? Prime's axe. You know, the axe. Yeah. Range from swords to everything, really. And they're pretty good, and you have to take consideration of the stats they have to decide how you're going to tackle the level, which is pretty cool. The bosses. The bosses are so good and so difficult. So the bosses are very fun. You fight the Decepticons, obviously, and you fight the Constructicons, one of them being Devastator, and he's a pretty cool fight. Although I wasn't really crazy about the semi-final fight, where you fight both the 2 giant Constructicons, or whatever it was. You fight them both on a small platform. It made no sense. You're cornered all the time. I don't know who designed that, but oh well. The final fight is very cool. I really like the final fight against Megatron. It starts off in like the little beach area, and then eventually you're up in space fighting him just to stop him from getting the Pharaoh-Taxis. The music was pretty good. I liked it. It was pretty interesting. Of course, the funny thing is, I watched this one video where someone played one of the boss fights, like the final boss fight of Transformers Devastation, and put Sonic Frontiers music over it, and it was pretty cool. I'll probably link his video in the description if I can. The length of the game, I was able to beat it around 2 or 3 days. It's not a very long game. You can definitely beat it in the weekend. It's a very fun time. If you want to play a game where you don't have to really think too much about stats or whatever, this game's for you, especially if you played Hyrule Warriors and stuff like that. This game is a beat 'em up. You'll like it. And the story's pretty good. And the thing is, at the end credit scene, it leads into the comics. So if you're confused about the ending, just read the comics and you'll find out more. Overall, I gave this game 9 out of 10. It's a pretty good time. I liked it. Definitely would play again sometime. And I think there's like a new game plus, but I'm not for sure. Alright, so... Wait. I don't need this for the next thing. This is the random thoughts section where I talk about what I've been up to, what thoughts been in my mind, stuff like that. So, yeah, okay, so... Let's see, I watched Dragon Ball Super Superhero. That became one of my favorite movies in terms of Dragon Ball movies. Tied up there with the Dragon Ball Super Broly. Really like them both. They both fixed the problems that people had. So in Dragon Ball Super Broly, they made Broly canon as well as Gogeta and actually made Broly into a character. Not like, oh, I must get Kakarot. No. He was like a character that some people can relate to. He is like a person rather than just a mindless beast. And then, of course, the showdown with him and Gogeta, that was just epic. I would watch that fight several times if I wanted to. And for the superhero movie, they fixed up some two characters. They made Gohan and Piccolo have new forms. Piccolo have an orange Piccolo, where he's just like giant buff. And yeah, he's pretty cool. And then Beast Gohan, he's my favorite so far. I don't really know the whole thing of what his transformation does, but I do know that he's kind of like Potential Unleashed. So from what I read online, he goes more, instead of doing the same transformations, he goes for like the earthly part of him, like the earthling part. Where like Potential Unleashed, that's him getting as an earthling rather than saying. But yeah, I think it was cool. Let's see. What was it? I really miss the days where you can just put in the game and not have to worry about an update. Like, remember back in the day in the Wii, or maybe the, what was it, the Xbox, the original, or maybe the PlayStation games? You know, PlayStation 1 and 2 games? Or maybe the NES, any of the old systems, where you didn't have to have internet to update a game. Like one time, I was just playing around on the Switch, just looking at the news, really. And maybe checking on Pokemon TV, see if I could re-download it, which sadly, Pokemon TV is getting shut down. I think it was the dumbest decision they ever made, but oh well. But yeah, I found out, the Switch is like, hey, we need to make this update for Pokemon Violet. I'm like, okay, well, need to play my game. They're like, sorry, we're not asking you, we're telling you. So they start updating down here. I'm just like, okay, I was gonna play Pokemon Violet. I guess I could watch the screen just update, or more accurately, I just play on my phone, which I'm using to record. But yeah, I really miss the days where you don't have to worry about an update. Whatever happened to those days? What was I saying? Oh yeah, the game update stuff. Yeah, I think it's dumb. And nowadays, video games, they decided to start releasing the game with many features missing, and they just like, okay, we'll fix an update. It's like, no, I didn't want you to fix an update. Just do it just take your time on the game and release it. I didn't mind them doing it on Frontiers, because for me, Frontiers felt like it was complete. But I understand why people hated it because of the final boss and everything. But yeah, it needed some fixes, add some cool features. But that's fine. They were like fixing it up. What I didn't like is like a lot of the Mario sports games, and I found out Splatoon 3 reason why they are now is because of updates, why it felt like a complete game. Like, why can't you make that complete whenever you were making it? I don't know. That's just my personal opinion. I'd rather have a game take their time to finish it. But oh well. I saw the new trailer for. I saw the announcement trailer for Sonic and Shadow Generations. I played Generations for quite a bit. I really liked it. It was super fun. I played it a ton, just replaying levels. And the cool thing about Generations is whenever you complete missions and stuff, you get these music tracks that you can have play, which these music tracks are from a bunch of Sonic games. And you can have it play while you're playing a level or a boss fight. And I thought that was really cool. So glad they sort of did it on Frontiers, but you had to like find the music notes, which I didn't mind. If you want to, you can just look up a video, but it's pretty. You could probably find it on the map on Frontiers. But anyway, what was it? I've been trying to catch up on the Sonic comics. So far, my favorite arc is still the Mellow Virus. It's pretty cool. I understand why people will say it takes a long time, but for me, that's just kind of the build-up of like a big old story. And it was much darker tone compared to some of the other previous issues that IDW posted for Sonic. Not saying that Archie isn't dark or anything. Trust me, I've seen things about Archie. Some of the story plot is dark and it's very cool. But if there was like one villain that I want returned, even though Ken Penders already has him, it's very unlikely we'll get him back, Boa. I want Airjack to be the main villain someday. But it'll be a fan game. Well, more likely, my dream would be it'd be a mainline game, but you know, it's Ken Pender's character, so they don't have the right for him. Maybe Sega will make a new villain or something that I'd be interested in. Not that some of the villains are bad, it's just Airjack's my favorite, so let's see. I'll be posting some more videos to make up for the lack of posts. And like I said, this video I'm doing it because what was it? Why am I losing my train of thought? I'm doing this video because the other half of the original one got muted for some reason when I was posting it, so hopefully this is a bit better. But yeah, my interests so far are Sonic, obviously, the Sonic comics as well, some Iron Man as well. Yeah, I've been keeping busy. I've been playing the new Ace Attorney. It was pretty fun. What else? Splatoon 3 was fun so far, even though I stink at those kind of games, but you know, it's fun. I played the Ghostbusters remaster game on the Switch. It was fun, although I hate the stage where you have to fight the Queen Arachnid, or is what they call it. I don't know. I have a phobia of spiders. I really hate spiders, but anyway. But yeah, I think that's all I can think of for now. Hope you enjoyed, and you'll be seeing this posted sometime soon. And yeah, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, or choose one of them. Or if you don't subscribe, it's no big deal. I'm just doing this for fun. I like to entertain people. So anyway, hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.